We're going to switch over to our final segment of the day, a treat that I have for you guys when it comes to the latest in our culture and how far we've gone down the slippery slope. Let's take a look at this latest TikTok that just got published not too long ago, and people are talking about it.
My daughter, and something's really been bothering me lately, so I thought, why not take it to TikTok so we can talk about it? Can we please start normalizing the fact that kids do not have to kiss and hug adults? My daughter's almost 2 years old, and I've been in the process of teaching her consent basically since the day that she's been born. And I find it really fucking unhelpful when the adults in her life are like, what? We have to ask for a kiss and a hug, even though I've explained why multiple times. And then when she says no, they're like, oh, she doesn't love me. My feelings are so hurt. And then they proceed to overstep her body boundaries anyway. My daughter and her body do not exist to make anyone feel more comfortable and to make anyone feel more loved. It is not her fault, and it is not my fault that the older generation haven't taken the time throughout their entire lives to learn how to regulate their emotions so consent doesn't continue to be overlooked. No one's feelings are ever going to be more important than my daughter's right to her own body, and I'm sure as shit not going to allow her to grow up in an environment where, one, she doesn't know how to say no, and two, she doesn't know what it looks like for her no to be respected. Grandparents do better.
Yep, you hear that, grandparents. Do better. How about you do better?
Respect your elders.
Oh my goodness. Could you imagine having to live with this thing? Wow. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to break down there. Not really. I mean, it wasn't very intelligent, but she spoke very fast. Tell she was very passionate about this. She was very, worked up about, her parents or, her spouse's parents. I'm hesitant to use husband because who knows what might be living with her. What a horrible thing that they come up and give them a little hug or give them a little kiss on the forehead or whatever it is, What you're doing is you're teaching your kid to be a privileged brat. Like you, almost. You're teaching them to exemplify behavior that is not normal. It's not necessary. And, it just creates awkwardness and tension when there doesn't need to be tension or conflict or anything for that matter. Now, of course, obviously, with someone I didn't know, if they came up and randomly gave me a hug and a kiss, of course, there's boundaries there. Okay, kids are not stupid. You're stupid, for your take on this, but kids aren't that dumb. You can teach a kid to understand that there are healthy, forms of physical contact without teaching them that they need to be so stuck up that someone has to ask every single time whether or not they can give them a hug or give them a kiss, especially their grandparents. This is the problem with, the generation that I'm part of and generation before me. It's not the problem of older generations that we've become so stuck up and privileged that we can't even see past our stupid ideologies and frameworks and victimhood, mentalities that we project onto our kids. The kid would never understand that, there was a problem with this. You're teaching your kid to become callous, to be standoffish, to become rude, pretentious. And you're not teaching them how to have open and loving relationships with their grandparents without contention or without the need to make it seem like the grandparents are, in the wrong for doing something that, in all intentions is their way of showing love towards their grandkid. So this may be just a personal vendetta against her and her parents. Maybe, she hates her parents.
I hate you!
For X, Y, and Z different things that they've done, or maybe they're conservatives and she's liberal now and she hates them for that. Whatever it is, this is clearly very stupid and very dumb. Your parents, the Bible talks about this. You should honor your father and mother.
Respect your elders.
And, when you talk about older generations and the way in which they do things and we look at it so scornfully, we never stop as new generations to think for a moment of, wow, this last generation is actually the reason I'm able to be here, is the reason why we have the things we have. And our parents especially have provided so much for me to be where I am. And maybe stop for a second and be grateful for that.
Old people are the greatest. They're full of wisdom and experience.
and allow these grandparents and your parents who are now grandparents the opportunity to enjoy the fruit of their labor and the hard work that they put in, and they just want to be able to spend time with their grandchildren without these stupid regulations and rules and idiotic, forces of your ideology pushed onto them. Now I get it. There's certain things that sure you can draw boundaries with grandparents, and grandparents can definitely be overstepping and questioning your judgment, your parenting, and various things. But when it comes to the way in which they show affection for your children, as long as it's not basically anything inappropriate or, anything, sexual or anything like that, which, I forbid, hope and pray, God forbid that any grandparents are doing that. If they're doing that, that they're evil and you keep them away from them. Doesn't matter if they're grandparents. But a hug, a kiss, really? I mean, coming in and hugging up on your grandkids and loving up on them and taking care of them and just being with them shouldn't have to be a scary thing for a grandparent. Yet, She-Zilla over here, She-Hulk over here with the anger and the Australian accent, that should be the big giveaway of the liberalism. But she's creating a hostile environment for the grandparents. She's making it harder for them to be around their grandchildren, and ultimately she's the one that needs to learn proper boundaries and proper social cues. She thinks she's doing something revolutionary. All she's doing is hurting her parents' relationship with her children and hurting her relationship with her parents. And this whole thing, do better, grandparents, do better. How about you do better? This is kind of, taking a shortcut on the harder part. The harder thing would be able to teach your kids how to be social and interact with different people differently. That takes higher social IQ. To be able to understand, okay, this person has this place in my life, therefore they have X, Y, and Z. This person has this place in my life, therefore they have X, Y, and Z. Instead of saying, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. Everyone is the same. Everyone needs to ask for consent. Everyone. It doesn't matter. That is not a smart way to teach your kids intelligence. It's not a smart way to raise them up. And it doesn't teach them reality. It doesn't teach them the way in which they should live. I guess next time I come home and, I see my wife, I should ask her for consent before coming in for a hug or kiss. That's not how reality works. That's not how relationships are made. And it's a stupid, stupid idea. And so for that, if I was Matt Walsh, I would cancel her, but I'm not. So therefore, I will basically politely say that her ideas need to be wiped off the face of the internet, and that anybody and everybody who thinks she has a good idea, you're dumb.
You can't fix stupid.